It is December 24th at exactly 6:47 in the evening when I step out of my black Mercedes in front of the Grand Oak restaurant. The valet takes my keys without looking at my face. Snow falls gently, catching in the golden light spilling from the restaurant's floor-to-ceiling windows. Through the glass, I can see them, the Bennett family, my former family, laughing, drinking champagne, celebrating Christmas Eve the way they've done for the past 15 years, without me. My hands are steady as I adjust my Rolex. $22,000. The watch alone costs more than the car I drove when they kicked me out. My suit is Italian, tailored, the kind that whispers wealth without screaming it. My shoes are leather, polished to a mirror shine. I look nothing like the broken boy they threw away. My name is Marcus Cole. I am 31 years old, and tonight I'm about to crash the party that destroyed me 13 years ago. The last time I stood in this restaurant, I was 18, scared, desperate, wearing a borrowed suit that didn't fit and shoes with holes in the soles stuffed with cardboard. Tonight, I own the building. Christmas was never kind to me growing up. My parents died in a car accident when I was 7, a drunk driver on Christmas Eve. After that, I bounced between foster homes, each one worse than the last. Cold houses, empty fridges, adults who saw me as a check from the state, nothing more. By the time I turned 16, I was living in my car, a rusted Toyota with a broken heater and windows that didn't close all the way. I worked 3 part-time jobs: gas station attendant, grocery store stocker, night janitor at an office building. I saved every penny I could. I dreamed of college, of a better life, of warm Christmases with people who cared. That's when I met Sarah Bennett. She walked into the gas station on a Tuesday afternoon in November. Beautiful, blonde hair pulled back in a perfect ponytail, designer jacket, expensive perfume. She smiled at me while paying for bottled water and asked if I went to Lincoln High. "Yeah," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "Senior year." "Me too," she said. "I haven't seen you around." "I keep to myself," I replied. She laughed, soft, musical. "That's mysterious. I like it." For 3 weeks, Sarah talked to me every time she came to the gas station. She asked about my classes, my plans, my dreams. She told me about her family, wealthy, influential. Her father owned half the commercial real estate in the city. She invited me to their annual Christmas Eve party. "It's fancy," she warned, "but you should come. My parents throw the best parties." I hesitated. "I don't really have anything to wear." "Doesn't matter," she said, touching my arm lightly. "Just come. I want you there." I borrowed a suit from a thrift store, black, too big in the shoulders, too short in the sleeves. I polished my only pair of dress shoes until they looked almost presentable. I drove to the Bennett mansion in my broken car, parking 3 blocks away so no one would see it. The house was enormous. 3 stories, columns out front, lights everywhere. Cars lined the circular driveway, BMWs, Mercedes, Jaguars. I stood outside for 10 minutes, gathering courage. Sarah met me at the door. She looked stunning in a silver dress that probably cost more than I made in 6 months. "You came," she said, pulling me inside. The house was full of people, wealthy people, doctors, lawyers, business owners. Everyone wore expensive clothes and held crystal glasses filled with champagne. A massive Christmas tree stood in the center of the room, covered with ornaments that sparkled under chandelier light. I felt like I was walking into a different world. Sarah introduced me to her parents, Richard and Margaret Bennett. Her father wore a suit that looked custom-made. Her mother dripped in diamonds. "This is Marcus," Sarah said, "from school." Richard shook my hand firmly. His grip was strong, confident. "Nice to meet you, son. What does your father do?" My throat tightened. "He passed away when I was young." "Oh," Margaret said, her smile tightening slightly. "I'm sorry to hear that. And your mother?" "She passed too," I said quietly. "Car accident, both of them." An uncomfortable silence settled between us. "Well," said Richard slowly, That's unfortunate. Where do you live now? I hesitated. I'm staying with a friend. It wasn't entirely a lie. I crashed on a coworker's couch sometimes when it was too cold to sleep in my car. Sarah squeezed my arm. Come on, let me introduce you to everyone else. For the first hour, things seemed okay. Sarah stayed close. We talked, laughed. She got me a plate of food from the catering table. Fancy cheeses, shrimp, little sandwiches with ingredients I couldn't identify. Then Sarah's older brother, James, arrived. He walked in with a group of his college friends, all of them loud, confident, expensive watches, designer clothes. James spotted Sarah and me standing near the fireplace. Sarah, he called, walking over. His eyes swept over me, lingering on my ill-fitting suit. Marcus, cool. What do you drive? I froze. What? Your car, James said, grinning. What do you drive? A Toyota. Nice, he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. What year? 98. His grin widened. Vintage. I like it. Where'd you park? Down the street. Down the street, James repeated, louder now. A few people nearby turned to look. Why not in the driveway? There wasn't space, I lied. Right, sure. Hey, what does your dad do? Sarah said he's in business. James, Sarah said quickly. Stop. What? James said innocently. I'm just asking questions. My father's dead, I said flatly. The group went quiet. James's smile didn't falter. Oh, damn. Sorry, man. That's rough. So what do you do? I work. Work? Cool. Where? Gas station. Someone behind James snickered. Gas station, James repeated slowly. That's honest work. Respect. So you're like what? Pumping gas and going to high school? James, Sarah hissed. Stop it. I'm just talking, James said. Relax. But I saw it in his eyes. The judgment, the amusement. He thought I was nothing.
The evening got worse from there. James made it his mission to humiliate me. Every chance he got, he asked pointed questions designed to expose how poor I was, where I lived, what I ate, if I was planning to go to college. College is expensive, he said loudly at one point. You got scholarships lined up? I'm working on it, I said. Working on it, James repeated. That's good. That's smart. Because you know college isn't cheap. My dad paid for mine up front. Full ride, no loans. But I'm sure you'll figure something out. People around us were listening now. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked amused. Sarah pulled me aside. Ignore him. He's drunk. But I couldn't ignore it. Every word felt like a knife. At 8:15 p.m., Richard Bennett stood in the center of the room and tapped his champagne glass with a fork. Everyone, he called, thank you for coming tonight. Christmas is about family, about gratitude, about celebrating what we've built together. He raised his glass. Everyone else raised theirs. I stood there, empty-handed. To family, Richard said, to success, to another prosperous year. To family, everyone echoed. I felt invisible, like I didn't belong, like I was standing in a room of people who would never see me as anything more than the poor kid who didn't fit. That's when it happened. James walked up behind me and whispered loud enough for others to hear. You should probably go, man. This party's for people who actually matter. I turned slowly. What? You heard me, James said, his voice cold now. You don't belong here. Look at you. Thrift store suit, borrowed shoes. You're embarrassing Sarah. You're embarrassing all of us. James, Sarah snapped. But James wasn't done. What were you thinking? That you could just show up and pretend to be one of us? You're a charity case, Marcus, a nobody. Go back to your gas station. My hands clenched into fists, my chest burned, my vision blurred. Richard Bennett appeared beside us. Is there a problem? No problem, James said smoothly. I was just telling Marcus it's getting late. He probably needs to get home. Richard looked at me. His expression wasn't angry. It was worse. It was pity.
"Perhaps that's best," Richard said quietly. I looked at Sarah. She opened her mouth, but said nothing. I turned and walked out. No one stopped me. I drove back to my car and sat in the freezing cold for an hour, shaken with rage and shame. That night, I made a promise to myself. I would become someone they could never look down on again. I worked harder than I had ever worked in my life. I got a scholarship to community college, then transferred to a state university. I studied business and finance. I worked full-time while taking classes. I slept 4 hours a night. I ate ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches. I graduated with honors. I got a job at a small investment firm, then a bigger one. Then I started my own company, real estate development, the same industry Richard Bennett dominated. I learned everything. I worked every connection. I made strategic investments. I took risks that terrified me. And slowly, carefully, I built an empire. By the time I was 28, I owned 15 commercial properties across the city. By 30, I had 40. Last month, I bought the Grand Oak Restaurant, the same place where the Bennetts held their annual Christmas Eve party. Tonight, I'm attending as the owner. I push through the front doors at exactly 7 p.m. The restaurant is packed. The Bennett family sits at their usual table near the fireplace. I recognize them immediately. Richard, older now, graying at the temples. Margaret, still elegant, still dripping in jewelry. James, thicker around the middle, laughing too loudly. And Sarah, still beautiful. Married now, I learned from a quick online search. 2 kids, living in her parents' guest house. I walk slowly through the restaurant. Heads turn. A few people recognize me from business news. I've been featured in the local paper multiple times. Young entrepreneur reshaped city skyline. Marcus Cole, from rags to real estate riches. But the Bennetts don't look up. Not yet. I stop at their table. "Excuse me," I say calmly. Richard looks up annoyed at the interruption. "Yes? I'm Marcus Cole. I own this restaurant now." Richard blinks. "Oh, yes, I heard it changed hands. Congratulations." He doesn't recognize me. None of them do. "I wanted to personally thank you for your continued patronage. The Bennett family has been dining here for what, 20 years? 15, Margaret says proudly. 15, I repeat. That's wonderful. Loyalty is rare. James raises his glass lazily. Cheers to that. I look directly at Sarah. Her eyes are on her plate. "I actually attended one of your parties once, years ago. Your daughter Sarah invited me." Sarah's head snaps up. Her face goes pale. "I was 18, I continued, wearing a borrowed suit, working at a gas station. Your son James told me I didn't belong, that I was a nobody, that I should leave." The table goes completely silent. James stares at me, recognition finally dawning. "Wait, you're Marcus?" "Marcus Cole," I confirm, "the nobody from the gas station." Richard's face hardens. "I remember now." "I'm sure you do," I said. "You told me it was best if I left. So I did." Margaret shifts uncomfortably. "That was a long time ago." 13 years ago tonight, I say. 13 years ago tonight. James tries to laugh it off. "Come on, man. We were kids. I was drunk. I said stupid things." "You told me I was a charity case," I say, my voice steady. "You told me I would never be anything." "I didn't mean—" "You were right about one thing," I interrupt. "I didn't belong there then, but things change." I pull an envelope from my jacket and place it on the table. "This is your bill for tonight, and a notice, effective immediately. The Bennett family is no longer welcome at the Grand Oak Restaurant. You're banned, permanently." Richard stands abruptly. "You can't do that." "I own the building," I say calmly. "I can do whatever I want." "This is ridiculous," Margaret snapped. "Over something that happened years ago?" "No," I say. "This is about respect, something you never showed me."
I turned to Sarah. She's crying silently. I know you were kind to me once, but you let them tear me apart. You said nothing when it mattered. I'm sorry, she whispers. I know, but sorry doesn't change what happened. I step back. You have 10 minutes to finish your meal and leave. Security will escort you out. Richard's face turns red. You'll regret this. No, I say, I won't. I walk away as the restaurant erupts in whispers. Security escorts the Bennetts out at 7:22 p.m. They leave through the back door, avoiding the crowd. I watch from my office window upstairs. Later that night, I receive a text from Sarah. You became everything you said you would. I'm proud of you, and I'm sorry for not standing up for you when I should have. I don't respond. Some apologies come too late. On Christmas morning, I wake up in my penthouse apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the city. Snow covers the rooftops. The sunrise paints everything gold. I make coffee, expensive beans, freshly ground. I sit in my leather chair and look out at the skyline. 13 years ago, I was nobody, a kid sleeping in a car, dreaming of warmth. Today, I am someone they'll never forget. But revenge doesn't feel the way I thought it would. It doesn't feel warm. It doesn't feel satisfying. It just feels empty. I pick up my phone and scroll through my contacts. There's a number I saved months ago. A foster care charity organization. I dial. Hello? A woman answers. Hi, I say. My name is Marcus Cole. I'd like to make a donation, a large one, for kids in foster care who need help with housing, education, and job training. That's wonderful, she says. How much were you thinking? $5 million to start. There's a long pause. Mr. Cole, she says, her voice shaking, that would change hundreds of lives. Good, I say, because 13 years ago, I was one of those kids, and someone should have helped me. I hang up and stare out at the city. The Bennetts taught me an important lesson that Christmas. They taught me that people will judge you based on what you have, not who you are. But they also taught me something else, that success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving yourself right. I don't need their approval anymore. I don't need their apologies. I just need to be the person I wish someone had been for me. And that's the greatest revenge of all.